She published a paper on her mentor in which she described him in endearing and eloquent terms. Professor Sadler was already a legend when I first entered Sydney University in 1936. A large, stocky man, he wore an unfashionable broad-brimmed hat with a turned-up rim, English tweeds, and pince-nez that emphasized his quizzical, slightly snobbish air. He exuded the unmistakable aura of the conservative English gentleman. Sadler was a prolific writer and published many books of significance throughout his career. The one you have in your hands is The Maker of Modern Japan, The Life of Tokugawa Ieyasu, 1937. Others include A Short History of Japanese Architecture, 1941, and A Short History of Japan, 1946. Among his important translations are The Heiki Monogatari, 1918–1921, Okakura Kakuzo's The Book of Tea, A Japanese Harmony of Art, Culture, and the Simple Life, 1932, and my personal favorite, Daidoji Yuzan's classic book on the Way of the Warrior, Budo Shoshinshu, which was translated as The Beginner's Book of Bushido, 1941. There are also publications on other diverse subjects, from Japanese flower arranging to Ise shrine pilgrimages. Not limited to Japanese, he also translated Sun Tzu's classic treatise on strategy, The Art of War, from Chinese to English. Although he is referred to now as a Japanologist, Sadler was a different kind of scholar to the specialists of today. In Ackroyd's words again, unlike today's specialized scholars who are piling assiduously sourced scrap on painfully acquired scrap, he absorbed immense quantities of information by extensive reading of original texts, and from the depth and breadth of his thoroughly internalized knowledge, he wrote fascinatingly on Chinese strategy, Japanese architecture, the tea ceremony, Shinto ritual, feudal magnates, the Emperor Meiji, and scores of other topics, and translated medieval Japanese war tales and diaries, Noh plays, Confucian texts, modern short stories, and much else. Clearly, Sadler was a scholar of varied interests, and he was a protean pioneer who conveyed many aspects of Japanese culture and history to the West. The timing of his publications coincided with an age of urgency to understand Japan and its people. A review of this book, published in 1942, sums this sentiment up well. Biographical studies of outstanding figures of Japanese history in Western languages are still very few in number and will continue to be so for years to come. Consequently, an edition which reduces this gap is most desirable. Since the outbreak of war in the Pacific last December, Japanese studies have been receiving greater attention and emphasis than ever before for the very practical reason that for a nation at war, knowing the enemy is one of the first prerequisites to the winning of the war. If we are to properly appraise and understand the forces at work in Japan today, we must go back into her history to find the roots which go deeply into the past. As for the life and achievements of Tokugawa Ieyasu, countless theses and books have been written on the subject in recent decades. Sadler's book became the standard reference on the subject for many years. Inevitably, however, there are assumptions in this book about Ieyasu's feats that have since been invalidated, or at least are hotly debated. The original title, The Maker of Modern Japan, for example, is certainly not true in a historiographical sense. Modern Japan designates the post-Meiji period. The publisher has retitled the book as Shogun, The Life and Times of Tokugawa Ieyasu, Japan's Greatest Ruler, a much better alternative. In writing the book, Sadler relied on works by respected Japanese scholars such as Suda Sokichi and Omori Kingoro, and heavily on the primary source Mikawa go Fudoki. Historical documents and works by Japanese scholars that Sadler referenced typically contain discrepancies, lack references, and distinctions between